The 15-Point Plan is part of the Win, Make, Give podcast network.
Welcome to the 15-Point Plan. Chad Himes here with my friend, the smiling Jillene Snell. Jillene, how are you today?
I am happy, Chad. How are you?
Well, I'm fantastic. I love that you're happy. Happy's a good place to be. What that tells me, Jillene, is you're probably achieving many of the points on your 15-point plan, which keeps your happiness level high. Yes?
Amen. I am.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, Jillene, today we're going to continue our conversation. We're diving deeper into each of the 15 points. And today we get to dive into the next point on the program, which is
about hobbies, which we covered in a more general way in the first episode. And this one, we get to dive just a little bit deeper into some thought-provoking questions that is truly meant to be an exercise for you during the next 15 or so minutes.
All right. For those of you out there who are saying, oh my gosh, hobbies, I don't know. And then you get all stressed that you should have a hobby. This is definitely the episode for you. What Jillene was referring to is if you're new to the 15-point plan, scroll back. Take the time, go back to episode 1 where we explain what the 15-point plan is even all about with Ben Kinney, the creator of the 15-point plan. And then we take you through each of the 15 points in short 15-minute episodes where we help you learn how to earn the check mark in each of the things on the 15-point plan so we can help you find better health, more happiness, and more energy. Now we've been going a little deeper and we've had some great conversations on some of the amazing topics. Jillene, you've put together some history and some information that we're going to lead everybody through today. So one, they can get an idea of what hobbies truly are. And then 2, walk away from this episode maybe with a new hobby.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. Where should we start?
Well, let's just do a quick recap, shall we?
All right.
So a hobby is considered to be a regular activity that is done for enjoyment and typically during someone's leisure time. But almost instinctively, so many people, even my own friends, respond that their hobbies are like their work or working out. And that was an easy default answer for me too. I don't know about you, Chad.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, working out might as well be a hobby to me. I mean, I'm always researching it and doing it and active in it. And you're right. And if we love our jobs, don't we say, well, my job is my hobby? You're right. So Jillene, help us here though.
Well, what I found in my research is another definition. This one's from Merriam-Webster. It said that a hobby is a pursuit outside of one's regular occupation, engaged in especially for relaxation. So of course I grabbed that one and sort of took it out of context because I think it's great for the conversation today. So let's have some fun together in this episode. And let's just, for the fun of it, sort of rule out exercise in our career as a hobby. And walk through an exercise to discover something different.
All right. So maybe by the end of this, I will have a new hobby in my life since you're not letting me count exercise or hosting podcasts. All right. So keep going.
So let's recap again why hobbies are important.
Okay.
So Chad, do you have any friends that ever say, I need a vacation?
Jillene, I thought you were just going to say, do I have any friends? And leave it right there the way you were asking the question. I was going to say no to that one.
That's a different episode.
Yeah, that's
Win Friends and Influence People episode.
Okay, good. We'll get back to that then. No one ever tells me I need a vacation. I'm pretty good at it. I know people have probably said to you, though, you need a vacation.
Exactly. And they're probably right. And yet in between those vacations that they'll take once or twice a year, however often, we can create these micro moments of relaxation, me time, white space, and joy through having these hobbies. So a hobby exercise for even 5 minutes a day can tremendously reduce our stress and refresh us and say, okay, now we're ready to take on life's obligations. It could be as little as 5 minutes to allow us to achieve that. So that being said, my challenge for you today and anyone listening is to find something they can do today for 5 or more minutes that makes you feel disconnected from any stress you might have in your life. You think that's possible?
Find the 5 minutes. Yes. Do something with the 5 minutes. I don't know. That's going to be the challenge for some of our audience members.
So an example of that this morning, I meditated for only 5 minutes this morning.
Okay.
in those 5 minutes, I was disconnected from stress, and it was an amazing way to be grounded and start the day.
Okay.
Before we dive in a little bit more, here's some fun facts about hobbies in the US as of this year.
Yes. I'm
Chad,
sure
can you?
COVID changed these numbers that you're
They
about to give
did.
us. Yeah.
They definitely did, as you see the research. We're not going into the history of it, but this year, can you guess the top 3 hobbies?
Well, I can because I've seen the research on it,
I
Jillene.
should have hid that from you,
You
Chad.
should have. You should have. And
The
you know
first
what?
one,
Number one's probably one of mine. If you made me say, Chad, what's a hobby that exercise doesn't count? I'd probably be saying this first one.
cooking and baking, which
Yes.
I would never know because Chad doesn't bring me anything, any baked goods or anything good to the office.
No, they're too good to let out of the house.
So that percentage is 39% have that as a hobby.
Okay.
Number
Number
2,
2.
reading,
Mm.
to 37%. And number
Okay.
3 was actually somewhat surprising. It's pets, 33%.
So my
people
pet can be
consider
my
their
hobby?
pet being their hobby.
Interesting. All right. Let's keep going.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about discovering your hobby. And we've
Yep.
talked, we shared a lot of ideas about different types of hobbies that
Yes.
you can pick up in the previous episode. And I think all of us have Googled ideas for what hobbies could be. Like we've
Yeah.
all Googled it. But what I want you to do right now is look for inspiration in your daily life for your hobby because it'll be unique to you, not just something you Google. Sometimes that's great. It gets our mind working in that direction. We set that intention. That's great. We want this hobby to be unique to you,
Okay.
right? Because it's supposed to bring you joy. So first, Chad, we want to pay attention to what we enjoy during the day or the week. What lights our spark? Or if we find ourselves in conversation with someone and we feel our like excitement rising, maybe our blood pressure a little bit in a positive way, and we're flowing in this exciting conversation, whatever that topic is, could potentially be our hobby.
Here's my problem. That's exercise.
Yeah.
You're
Okay.
answering
Well,
I'm answering that question in my head, and I keep saying, well, working out or talking about that stuff, and I love doing that with people. All right, you're making it.
yes.
Remember, folks, exercise and work are off the table as we go through this episode.
Yes. That means
So-
you might have more than 2 hobbies, right?
Okay, so question 1, what lights your spark?
What lights your spark?
Okay.
So we need to just be aware and pay attention today and this week to see what those things are. That could be reading. And
Yep.
what if you started a book club? And it could just be creating more time in your calendar for reading because there's a spark there. So we just essentially want to discover that spark and create the flame by intentionally creating a hobby out of that spark.
Got it. Okay.
I
Yep.
had a really difficult time with hobbies in the beginning, but I had to have this paradigm shift about it as we focused on the 15-point plan. Frankly, 15-point plan is what changed my perspective on hobbies because
Yeah.
mine was work, exercise, or it was something that was seasonal. So for instance, I do boating in the summer. Well, that's summer here in the Pacific Northwest is 2 months. That's
Yeah.
8 weeks. Right? And I'm like, well, what about the rest of the year?
Yep.
What am I doing the rest of the year? So, and I started watching little things in my day or my week that brought me joy. And one of those things was organizing my house and becoming like a minimalist and creating life hacks. I loved that. I just spent more time on it, or planning and designing the next remodel for my house or one of my houses. And the planning design part actually became the hobby, like the journey became the hobby. Not as much like the actual transformation and the work taking place to do the remodel.
Got
if
it.
that
So,
makes sense.
Jillene, one of the things you said in there, and I just want to come back to it, you said boating is a hobby of yours.
Mhm.
Yet, as you said, in the Pacific Northwest, you get about 2 months of that. It's okay if our hobbies are not the same hobby for 12 months. We can have seasonal hobbies in there as
Exactly.
well. So yes, don't limit yourself, folks. If going skiing is one of your hobbies, okay, you might not get to do it every day of every, yet you probably have 3 or 4 good months, depending on where you live, maybe more, where you get a ski season that you can experience that hobby. The question is, what do you do when it's not ski season?
Well, and that was my issue. I didn't have the other hobbies for the other seasons
Right.
because I'm not a skier as much as I'd like to be.
Okay. So
So-
question 1, what sparks us?
Yeah. And then
Okay.
we want to ask ourselves a series of really powerful questions. And this is probably the best part of this entire episode.
All right. So folks, if you haven't been paying attention, pay attention. Pull over turn your phone into the notes, grab a pen, paper, however you're going to do it. Jillene's going to give us 7 questions that are going to help us walk away with
Yes.
a hobby when we're done here. So Jillene,
Yes.
question
And
1.
as humans, we have to attach meaning to the things that we do.
Yes.
Now, the important part is we're attaching meaning for ourselves through this process,
Okay.
not for anyone else. This needs to be for ourselves. So, Chad, question number 1 is how much time can I create for a hobby?
Okay. How
Question.
much time can I create for a hobby? It could be
Mhm.
as little as 5 minutes, and it could be as much as I can dedicate an hour here or 5 hours over a week or something along those lines. Yes?
Exactly. And of course, we're going to have multiple hobbies. That example of meditation, that's 5 minutes a day. It's not a lot of time.
Right. Okay. So, how much time can I create for a hobby? Question 2.
Do I want this hobby to have a positive impact on my health?
Well, that's a lot easier to answer than do I want it to have a negative impact on my health? Sure.
Yes. And that could be like running races, Spartan races like Chad does or half marathons. And that's an example that's outside of just daily exercise. It's going to an event, and that event and the achievement of that is in itself a hobby.
Okay.
The third question is, do I want this hobby to strengthen relationships and interpersonal skills?
Okay. So
So
we could
that
have some hobbies that are focused in our health. We could have some hobbies that are focused on communication, relationships, things like that. Hobbies are going to be in different areas of our life.
Right. And to strengthen a relationship, it could be you might choose a hobby that you do with your spouse or a friend.
Okay.
Interpersonal skills could be taking some sort of a class or even hosting a book club or a wealth building series of some sort that you bring your friends into in the community.
Nice plug. If you want to check out a wealth series that you can then bring to your community, go visit winmakegive.com/wealth for the wealth series that we provided for you
Yeah.
over on our Win Make Give podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good playbook that anyone can take to their community of people.
Yeah.
Number 4, Chad, is what do I not get to express in the workplace or in a normal day that I might like to express?
Okay.
Such as if like your job is working with numbers all day, maybe you're an accountant, you might take up painting because it's a creative outlet.
Oh, okay. All right. So there might be something that you just can't do as part of your workday that you want to add. Okay. So a hobby could
Exactly.
fill that void for you. Got it.
And wouldn't that create some amazing balance in your life too?
Yes.
In what ways would I want my hobby to challenge me either mentally or physically? An example of this, of like mentally stimulating, would be to learn a new language, right? That's challenging.
Okay. Yet
For me, that's learning a new instrument. That would be very challenging for me
it
too.
would be. Yet one of the things you did mention earlier was that hobbies are helping us relieve stress. So don't make this something that's going to just stress you out more as you're trying to learn.
And the answer could be no.
Right.
This is all designed on the individual, and that's the beauty of it.
Okay.
And this question actually alludes to that even more. Do I struggle with finishing things?
Hmm.
If so, you may want to choose a hobby where this is not an issue. Again, you get to design this around you. Chad, have you ever taken up a hobby that you started but never finished?
Oh,
That laugh
Jillene.
is a yes.
Yeah, my parents I would sign up for guitar, and then all of a sudden I wanted to be a karate master, and then I wanted to do this. And I got sitting over here on my shelf because I'm recording from home with you today. Uh, I've got origami books. I've got clay
That's a
to
good one.
make things with. Origami just stressed me out so much trying to figure out all those. I was like, forget it. Right. I just haven't thrown them away yet. So yeah, I got lots of hobbies that I've attempted to buy into that I've gotten nowhere with.
Right. Okay. Well, those are good examples. So, you know what? That might not be the hobby that you choose.
No.
And then the last question I have is, do I have a budget for this hobby or even need a budget for this hobby? And I think you can look at, the year and say, okay, well, if my hobby is skiing or traveling, this is the budget that I've allotted for it. And then you get to live out that hobby versus get to the point where, gosh, I don't quite have this in the budget now because I didn't plan for it. And now I can't go skiing or I can't travel or whatever it might be.
Got it.
I
Okay.
would say investing for me is a hobby. So I absolutely have to budget and do a lot of planning to be able to be an investor.
That's a great example, whether you're a skier and you need to buy the lift ticket or go on the trip, or whether you're an investor as one of your hobbies. Yes, that can be a hobby if you're doing the research and stuff on it.
Mm-hmm.
That there's definitely not even a small budget. That's a large budget for either of those activities that you'd probably want to make a hobby.
Right.
Great example, Jillene.
Thank you. Now we
Thanks.
want to create a plan for the hobby.
Got it. So we've asked ourselves these 7, we've found out what sparks us. We've asked ourselves these 7 questions. Now it's time to put together a plan.
Yeah. But first, a couple other things. We want to overcome fear of perfection and failure when creating this plan. Like integrating a hobby into our lives requires overcoming our own need for perfection and maybe even reducing our own expectations relating to this hobby.
Okay.
Isn't that interesting? Because it's meant to be about the joy that you experience on the journey of being able to act on that hobby. So we want to avoid comparing our hobby to someone else.
Okay, so I shouldn't worry that my scones don't look like, Martha Stewart's when she makes scones, but Dan, they're fun to make and they taste good.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
I think it's so easy for us to do, especially when you're on Instagram and you see that beautiful picture of whatever it is.
Sure.
It's aesthetically pleasing and it looks nothing like maybe your own painting, right?
Yes.
For example of that is I am a novice gardener as a hobby, which means I kill more plants than survive.
Yes, I have a black thumb as well. Yes.
So, if I look at my neighbor's garden, it definitely doesn't compare. But what I've determined is just the act of growing them and to whatever level they actually reach brings me joy, and I have to be okay with that.
Okay.
So creating a plan would be to set up a schedule for working on the hobby, just like you would be starting a new exercise plan. So look at the calendar and say, where could I put this into my week? It might be the 5 minutes or that 15 minutes, or you could sign up for something that attaches some accountability to the hobby, especially if you're really busy. When you sign up for something and maybe you even have to pay for it, like you buy that lift ticket or you buy that flight or whatever it is, it attaches a little bit of accountability to the hobby. And then you can plot out your specific dates and times for, pursuing this interest. And then that helps you prioritize, of course, what you're doing. And it also gives you a chance to see if it's really, the right hobby for you.
When you say that right there, I think that's a key thing. Is it really the right hobby for you? It's okay. As we said, we don't finish certain things. It's okay to start and then say, nope, that's not the one for me. Nope, that's not the one for me. And move on and have that drawer of all those started hobbies somewhere in the house that you never got anywhere with. Please be okay with that as you're finding something that does spark your joy.
Absolutely. If the hobby starts to feel like a to-do list or it feels like it's adding stress to your life, those are indicators, of course, that you might want to switch to a different hobby. So,
okay, Jillene, wrap it up with a last thought. Now that I've gone through all of this, what should I be doing now to be able to help me make this hobby bring me even more joy?
I think just continue to ask yourselves the questions that we gave in this podcast, right? Like, is this having the impact that I want on my life? Is it bringing me joy? And am I making the time for it? And am I prioritizing myself and allowing myself to choose this hobby?
So
Again, it might be something that you're already doing, Chad. It could be something, the spark is already there. You're just creating a flame out of the spark. So it may not be something that's new. It's just making time for the things that bring you joy.
All right. So making time for the things that bring you joy. And then as Jillene has said, it's about you. It's about you. Yet, folks, make sure you tell other people about your hobbies. Because you know what? They might take an interest and then that just reignites that flame. That makes that flame bigger and grow when you bring others into it. And heck, maybe all of a sudden you have a group of people sitting around whittling or playing guitar together or running Spartan races or whatever those hobbies end up being. Folks, powerful lessons from Jillene, powerful questions to ask ourselves, because so many people in the 15-point plan in the Facebook group, 15-point plan for life, I know they sit there and they say, I don't know about hobby. I need help with hobby. What should I do for a hobby? Listen to this episode again and again and again. And yes, listening to podcasts can become that hobby. Just don't listen to the same episode again and again and again and again. that would kind of defeat the purpose of it. Yeah, folks, here at the 15-point plan, we just want to help your energy levels. We want to help your happiness. We want to help your health. And we know that a hobby will help you get there. So we hope that this episode ups your energy and takes you to the next level.